Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage in Birmingham, two-time Academy Award winner and arguably the greatest actor of all time. Please welcome Mr. Robert De Niro! Robert De Niro! Robert De Niro! Wow. Thank you, sir. How does that feel?
Thank you. Pretty good.
Pretty good. It must be amazing to go to all parts of the world and just get an outpouring of love from people who respect yourself and the work that you've created over the past 6 decades. It must be amazing.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. It's 5.5 decades.
We're doing the halves. That's great, man. Well, welcome to Birmingham. Have you ever been to Birmingham before?
No, I haven't.
First time. They're a lovely lot, and they love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
They want you everywhere. Listen, I'm the lucky one in the room that gets to sit here and ask you a few questions and try to glean some nuggets of information that we might not have gleaned before. But if you don't mind, I'd like to start right at the beginning and set the scene for the journey that you've been on from the beginning, if that's okay. Sure. So, you were born in New York. You are Mr. New York, that's for sure.
Yes, I was born in New York.
And you were brought up in Greenwich Village, which is a real artisan kind of place within New York in Lower Manhattan.
Yes, yes.
Where all the arty kind of people go, the theatricals, the performers.
Yeah, I mean, yes, when I was a kid, and it is the Village, but so many other places now in New York has changed so much. Brooklyn, all over, even the Bronx, everywhere. Artist enclaves, and this and that, young people, but yeah. But the Village was the original place.
And your mum and dad, both artists, both painters?
Yes, yes.
Robert Sr. and Virginia?
Yes.
Which is, so you were brought up all within the arts, but, and I suppose, you know, in the surrounding areas you'll see all different forms of life in anywhere. But what was the original moment, or what was the thought that got Robert De Niro from all this art and painting to decide to become an actor? What was the...
When I was about 10, I wanted to act, and so I went to a place called the Dramatic Workshop, and I went on Saturdays for a year or so, and then I lost interest, and then I went back when I was about 15, 16 to the Dramatic Workshop again for about a year and a half, and then I stopped for about a year, and then when I was 18, I went back again and continued consistently. At that point, I went to night school while I went to the Dramatic Workshop. Then I went to Stella Adler, and I was going to night school.
And Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg, they were big influences early on in your career?
Well, Stella Adler certainly was. Lee Strasberg was later, and he was very important in the theater and film, of course. I was in the actor's studio after, but my main thing was the Dramatic Workshop. A lot of the teachers, instructors were part of the studio too. There were members of the studio. Whereas Stella Adler, there were some, but it was like you had to be a little more careful the way I understood it, because she was more traditional. It was the conservatory of acting. It wasn't, she didn't want to be associated with Lee Strasberg and the studio because it represented something else, like a more, what's the word? It wasn't what she thought acting was. It was more traditional, the way she taught it. Studied with Stanislavski in Moscow, or maybe in Paris. I don't know if she actually went to Moscow, but she just felt that she was more of the tradition of the real theater, if you will.
And that suited yourself, and they were tools that you took on for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
So you're with Stella Adler, you're learning your trade. When we as actors want to watch masterclasses, we watch Robert De Niro. Who? Absolutely. Who did Robert De Niro look up to, kind of enjoyed their performances, you know, early on in your career? Who was that?
Well, when I was a kid, many actors of my generation looked up to Brando, James Dean. I liked Montgomery Clift. And there are, of course, Laurence Olivier, Albert Finney was the Saturday Night and Sunday Morning was a wonderful movie that I remember as a young man, a teenager. I saw it was great. Some of the other, I can't remember the titles, the kitchen sink dramas, if you will, black and white. Well, everything was black and white, but pretty much all of it. They were great films.
Absolutely, and great actors. When you first got into acting, and you do what most actors do, you kind of go around casting and auditioning, and was it easy for you from the beginning, or was it a slow process?
No, well, it's not easy. You go, I'd buy the trades every week, and I'd see where they were looking for actors. You'd go to open calls, or you'd send a picture and resume and so on. But there was no guarantee if people. I remember I had a girlfriend who wouldn't go, or was afraid. I said, if you don't go, you'll never know. You have to go. You have to go in order to see if you even got a chance. And so but I always looked at it more as a kind of a gamble. It was like I don't expect to get chosen, but you never know. And you read, and it's experience. So that's how it was.
If you're not in it, you can't win it.
What?
If you're not in it, you can't win it.
There you go. There you go.
So, but it's nice to hear that somebody like yourself kind of did the rounds early on, and
yes.
So coming to what I personally consider a real breakthrough role from the beginning of your career for me was Mean Streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your first venture with Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, that was my first movie with Marty. He had, excuse me. He and I sort of knew him when I was a kid. We'd sort of hang out in the same neighborhood, and then I'd run into him. But we had mutual friends that go between our groups. And then I heard Marty was directing. He went to NYU, which was not far from where we would hang out. And then, but about 10 years later, I saw Who's That Knocking with Harvey Keitel, and then Marty and I had a mutual friend, and he had us over for dinner, and I told Marty how terrific the movie was, and how, because he knew what it was really about, and he had done a great job. And then he was telling me about Mean Streets, and so I was trying to, then he offered me one part of Johnny Boy, but there were the other parts, and I was trying to figure out which I wanted to do, and I'd every so often call him on the phone. We had a few months yet before to start, and I had time to decide, and I'd ask him, well, what do you think, maybe this part, this stuff, because at every part I saw something that I liked. So eventually I settled on Johnny Boy. They said, what's the flashier part, this and that, so.
I think you made the right decision. Because for me, it was the start of the Robert De Niro that we all grew to love, and a style that absolutely, you nailed it right from the beginning. If you don't mind, we'd just love to have a little, a brief glimpse of Johnny Boy in action. Superb. And that was your first film with Harvey?
That was my first movie with Harvey, yes.
And you've remained good friends, I believe.
We're dear friends, till now. I was with him yesterday or the day before.
Right up to this point. For me, the character there was one that has stayed with you for an awful long, because it's the glint, it's the smile. You're just about to either kill somebody or something, but you do it with such humor. In your eyes and your face, it's a fantastic way. And that was something that put you really in the public's eye, and on the director's radar. And
yeah, that was Marty was friends with Francis Coppola, and I knew Francis a little bit, and I think Marty had we never really spoke about this, but I don't remember, but I think Marty showed him the movie was not coming out, had not come out yet, and Marty was editing, and he showed him some of Mean Streets, and Francis said he wanted me to go to San Francisco where he was living to work with him for Godfather II, and then one day he called me, he said, don't bother, you have the part, and so that was great.
So I
was happy.
The director rings you up and says, you're in Godfather 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Which was an unbelievable film. And you were not stepping into the shoes of, but you were playing the young Vito.
Yes.
And one of your idols had been playing the older Vito.
Yes.
How did that feel? Were you nervous about that? Or?
No, I mean, it was interesting because it gave me a real thing to sort of work off. If it was a performance that I had to go off, it was Brando's performance in The Godfather. So I went up with one of the producers, Gray Fredrickson, and we went up to the Gulf and Western building on a 30-something floor where the screening room was, and took a reel-to-reel
an audio tape.
Video
thing. Yeah.
And put it on the screen. Whenever the Brando scenes came up, we recorded it, and then I took that with me, and I just played it over and over and studied it until I started shooting, and while I was shooting.
And you took the voice with you that Brando had used in Godfather 1, the kind of gruff voice. But also, how did you feel when you got the script through and Vito speaks Sicilian through the majority of the film? Well,
that was okay. I went to Sicily for about almost 3 weeks and drove around, hung out with people, asked them to go over the script with me and say I'd have it in English. If they spoke English, how would you say it in Sicilian, da-da-da, and all that. And so that's what I did. And it was tricky because in every little area of Sicily, a little village, there's a variation of the dialects. So I finally had to settle on one,
which we're going to see in a moment. And once again, I feel like you absolutely nailed it. Just have a look at the first scene, the big scene that we see Vito.
Non ci decise niente, te una cristiano orgoglioso. E mi venisse a trovare indannato se messi. Ma scelto un cane a restare, eh? Eh? Un cane a restare.
Sto cazzo! Sto cazzo! Sto cazzo sì, che te ne vanno a casa, me lo ordine a mia mano di comanda. Oh, puoi stare attenta come parli con me, capiste? Ma se noi con una cosa un tocco, sai quando ti manda a sbattere? Andate, faccio volare in tuo mezzo della strada, andate a basso!
Non fai sto piacere. Spiegati chi sono, io uomo scodo. E spiacere amici tuoi in sto vicinanza che sono io. Io tu sanno dire come io saccio favorire. A sa benedire.
Non sa benedire? Da chi sto qua? Arriva.
What a character indeed. Godfather 2. Not only did you have a wonderful performance within Godfather 2, but it got you a nomination for your first Academy Award, and you won.
Yes.
To win with your first one must have been an incredible feeling, but you were away working at the time and couldn't receive your award.
Yeah, I was working with Bertolucci on 1900 in northern Italy. May he rest in peace. He just passed away. And so they called me at about 6 in the morning Italian time, 9 at night or something, LA time, and told me.
Told you the news, but you couldn't get there.
Yeah, I was shooting.
Because you were up against Lee Strasberg and Fred Astaire.
Yeah, I know. You told me that yesterday. I can't believe it.
I just keep seeing Fred Astaire's face when you didn't win. But we're so glad that you did. And that catapulted you into the stratosphere for sure. But you went back to working with Marty after that in one of the greatest films of all time.
when I was working on 1900, I had read this book given to me by a friend of Jake LaMotta's, Pete Savage. Now he passed away a while ago, Pete. But he had written it with Jake, and I think he wrote it with. He did, and they gave it to me in New York. When I came back, I read it in Italy, and I called Marty. I said, you should look at this because it's interesting. It's not a great book, but it's got a lot of heart. And he did, and that's how we started. And I said, if we do it, I'd like to take a time off to gain the weight, because when I was just a young man going around New York, I'd sometimes see Jake working as a bouncer at a strip club, and he was big and heavy and so on. And I just thought it was so strange when he was a young fighter in his prime, and now he was so out of shape. I thought it was just an interesting graphic way of seeing someone go out and get whatever you want to call it, just run down and out of shape, out of shape.
And you went to Marty with this idea and kind of worked with him on it and produced what you ended up seeing with Raging Bull, which did show Raging Bull, come on, which did show exactly what you've just described, an absolute athlete in his prime, which must have did that take you a while to get into that kind of shape, or were you already?
Yeah, I worked hard on getting into shape, and I worked hard gaining the weight. After the first 15 or 20 pounds, I gained 60. After the first 15 or 20, it's fun. I eat whatever I want. Then it's pure drudgery. It's torture.
I don't seem to have any problem at the moment with it, but so if we could just have a quick look at Raging Bull, that would be amazing to show some of the work you did on that.
An up-and-comer who's now a down-and-outer. You remember that scene in the back of the car with his brother Charlie, a small-time racket guy, and it went something like this. It wasn't him, Charlie, it was you. You remember that night at the Garden, you came down my dressing room and you said, "Kid, this ain't your night. We're going for the price on Wilson." Remember that? This ain't your night. A lot of people out there.
Yeah, it's crowded.
And was that the first time you'd worked with Joe Pesci?
Yes, it was. Joe and I.
Another great actor.
Yeah, I saw Joe in a movie called The Death Collector, and I told Marty, I said, we got to see him. And so we met Joe. He was working in a restaurant in the Bronx at the time, and he was running it, I think, and that's how it started. Me, Marty, and the casting director, a woman named Sis Corman, we went there, met Joe, talked to him, then the whole process and then having him come read and test and so on. And we had a bit of a quandary, because you should have had somebody, he's my younger brother, and we had a wonderful actor who was very good and would have been terrific in the part, and he was younger than me, but Joe was my age. He's actually a little older, like a year older than me, but we said, do we have someone like this kid who is great, or Joe who is just fantastic? And we said, we got to go with Joe.
Again, I think you made the right decision. He did an amazing job. And the job that you did, once again, you won the Academy Award. That's 2. That's incredible. In a lifetime. I mean, what a wonderful thing, because it must have been such a part of you, the film, because you took it in Marty, you felt an affinity with it, you knew Jake LaMotta, and the film gets every accolade around, and you get the Best Actor award. Absolutely superb. Really, really brilliant. Yeah. Got to give it up for Raging Bull, yeah? Thank you. If you don't mind, I'd like to go back just a little while before Raging Bull to a film that had such an effect on so many people on such different levels when you played Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. That was one scary dude. And I believe you went out and you did the whole thing of going and becoming a taxi driver for a little while.
Yeah, I did. I was working on 1900. I had to get back. Marty and I met in Cannes to go over the script and rehearse and work on it and so on. Not work on it, writing it, but just working on the script as, you know, just working in that sense. And because I had no time, once I finished 1900, I went right back to, I met him in Cannes for like a weekend, and when I wasn't shooting 1900, and then went right back as soon as I did wrap 1900, and had to go into the movie like 2 weeks after I got back to New York. So I went right away and started driving a cab and doing as much work preparing as I could. And that was interesting, driving a cab.
Because you were absolutely ripped again. Your physique was absolutely down to the sinew. And I just wanted to show one of the iconic scenes with a passage that I'm sure will be a part of your life a long time.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Oh, yeah? Huh? Okay. Huh?
Again, an intense physicality about everything that you did there, but I'm led to believe that the line wasn't even in the script. It was something you were improvising.
Yeah, that was a lot of times, especially with Marty and other directors, they'll let you go on, and then and sometimes you get your best things that way, either ad-libbing or improvising. The worst can happen, you just don't use it, you edit it out, and but that was one where it felt right to do that, and so.
That's the actor's instinct kicking in, but were you thinking that maybe just one of the lines might get in the film, or?
No, I just thought it was right to do. You know, it just said, let me try. You know, Marty is great that way. He'll let you try anything, and the worst he can do is cut it out, or say, well, let's try. That's a great idea. Let's try it a little this way, or let's try it that way, but now let's try it this way too. And so that's
to have that freedom must be incredible and great. And it had a wonderful cast. You got Jodie Foster in there, who was only just a teenager at the time.
I think Jodie was 12.
Wow.
I think she was 12. I heard that.
Because that's an incredible performance from a young lady to play that type of role as well. I'm glad I wasn't her dad. I don't think I'd have been too keen on her playing that kind of role. No. And again, Harvey Keitel. Great screen chemistry, and Sybil Shepherd, a young Sybil Shepherd, which is an incredible cast. But you must have thought at the time that acting was pretty great, because you know the films were coming along, and but they weren't just ordinary films, and then all of a sudden, Deer Hunter turns up.
Yeah, I met Cimino. He sent me the script, and the thing that I was impressed about it is that you don't see it, but I mean I have it, but and we have it in some place where I put all my stuff in the University of Texas in Austin. The script was, what Cimino had sent me was a black and white picture of a guy, my character, dressed the way I did the movie, and with the deer slung over strapped over the hood of a white Cadillac, which we have in the movie. And so I was just so impressed with that in big red letters, the Deer Hunter, and I said, I'm going to read this. And then I met Michael, and we talked, and that was it.
It's got some of the most harrowing scenes within the film. And we're just going to show the most famous scene of all with yourself and Christopher Walken, just to give us a brief taste of Deer Hunter. There was a change of emotion in your face in that just for me as an actor, sets somebody like you apart from somebody like me. The gear change, which was seamless, emotion to emotion, was just a joy for somebody like me to watch. But it looked as though, whereabouts were you filming? Were you out in?
We shot that scene in Thailand on the River Kwai, and it was interesting because the day we arrived at on the River Kwai in a little motel that we all stayed in, we took a ride over across the river to where the set was, where we shot this, and where that little cage is that's in the water that we were put in with the rats and so on. And Chris Walken, myself, and our technical advisor were there. And all of a sudden, swimming across the river, coming up to the dock and near the cage, and then going over to the cage, and then got up on its hind legs, was a rat. I couldn't. It's the strangest thing, especially because of what the movie had.
Does that help an actor like yourself? Because it really must put. I know the rat probably won't help the acting. But maybe it puts you in that moment of
no,
feeling.
It was odd. I don't know. I mean, the rats that they gave were alive, I think, or part alive, and they blow them up. They injected air in them so that they'll float a little more. It's weird. That's weird.
Well, that's something we didn't know. Yeah. A lot of hot air rats. The scene we've just seen, again, absolutely intense. And the guys who were within the scene that were slapping you, do you just say to those guys, look, I want this as real as possible. You just go for it, or?
Yeah, no, I think I could. It's been a while, but I think that one shot we saw, they did like this. I moved like that. They make the sound effect. Well, I wasn't slapped, but there were others where I was slapped. I know I wanted that. I'm sure we had it. Not that particular shot, but yeah. I mean, it just helps. The intensity of the whole thing is so crazy, anyway. And I think we shot it over a couple of days, maybe at least 2. So you got to get yourself ready and amped up for it. So
absolutely. A lot of people see Deer Hunter as quite a violent film, which I know it is, but for me, it was a real love story. Because the scene where you go back to try and save Chris Walken's character is absolutely heart-wrenching. And such love between two friends that how was he great to work with? And
yeah, Chris was great. That's one of the things that appealed to me and with the movie, attracted me to it, was the brotherly, all the guys, that they go off, these young guys, to war and fight, and then look what happens to them, and they come back.
And they really set that up in the first half of the film, didn't they? With you guys playing pool and having a sing song and just kids play and really building it up. And Meryl Streep, one of her first breakthrough movies roles, was also part. And
Meryl,
absolutely. And you were a big part of getting Meryl, in front of.
Mike Cimino and I went to see her in a play at Lincoln Center. I think it was a Chekhov play. She was just great in it, and we wanted her for the movie, so that was it.
Yeah, she did a great job, and she's kind of done okay after that, hasn't she?
She's done okay. Yeah.
So some of the biggest films that they're ever going to be, you've kind of done 4 or 5 on the bounce there, and obviously you've been Oscar nominated many times, and the next 10 years were no different. And a film that I had a lot of interest in was King of Comedy, and Rupert Pumpkin. I mean, what a great character, but it wasn't really a comedy, was it?
I don't know what it was. It was a funny thing. I loved the character, the whole story. It was written by a film critic for Newsweek magazine, who's since passed away, Paul Zimmerman. It was I loved the script, and so it was great.
It was slightly dark, and not an
was.
awful lot to do with comedy. A gentleman did ask me outside, and it's a great question, is have you ever had a Rupert Pumpkin?
You mean Rupert Pupkin approached me type?
Yeah,
character?
kind of coming for you.
Well, actually, I always remembered the autograph people that come around with me and Marty. You kind of recognize them after, or Marty and I, or anybody. You'd go into an opening or something, or walk into a hotel, or they'd be waiting, and over the years, now I'm going to turn around and ask these guys to help us with this. And so we met a few of them. I went to this one guy's basement. He had everything in his basement. This kid, Vinny, he was great. Another one was a photographer for one of the tabloids in New York, the Post or the News. And so I, see them. But I dragged Marty to a few places to sit and watch the people and so on.
But nobody's tried to kidnap you.
No, hopefully not. No.
And if you don't mind, just a personal question, because it was a film where you worked with the legend Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's only what we've read and what we've heard, but it has been noted that Jerry Lewis can be quite difficult to work with at times.
He was good. Jerry, Marty and I would have these long conversations in the camper, and Jerry would wait patiently. And I realized after it was kind of not right of us to get into these. We just sort of kept talking, and poor Jerry's waiting in his camper. I mean, everybody's fine. You wait, that's what it's. A lot of it's about just waiting. But I thought of it later. He was very professional and never said anything, complained or anything. And when we were shooting the TV stuff with him, I remember I'd do the thing with the interviewing with Jerry. There's a certain energy that you have when you're being interviewed on one of the talk shows, and I had not done much of that, if any, at that point that I can remember. So he said, "No, you got it. It's a different thing. You're more up. You come. It's kind of even like the way we're talking. You got to have. You can't just slouch and be a schlumpy. You got to rise to the questions." And so he very much made me aware of that, because Jerry was a pro at that kind of stuff. He was terrific.
It's a performance, but it's a performance in a slightly different way.
Yes.
And he must have been the expert of it after all the years.
No, he was. Jerry, oh yeah. And that scene, I noticed the one where he's grabbing my face and saying, "You are, and you're great, Rupert," my fantasy scene. He really, he made me laugh. He was terrific in it. He was just, the energy.
He's a funny guy.
Commitment to it, yeah.
Yeah, his face can kind of make you smile along the way. Well, you've dispelled a myth for me there. And then things, we obviously can't go into detail. You've got such a long list of wonderful, wonderful things. But The Untouchables, and absolutely, Midnight Run. I think Midnight Run was a film that you really enjoyed making.
I had a lot of fun doing Midnight Run, because it was a kind of an action comedy, I guess, or whatever you'd call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I enjoyed it. A lot of it was fun. I liked George Gallo, the writer, and Marty Brest, the director, and the characters who were in the movie too. We had a lot of fun. Chuck Roden, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a wonderful film. And then again, quite personally, We're No Angels with Sean Penn. Now, Sean Penn, I think, is a wonderful, wonderful actor, but whenever I watch him acting, I always keep thinking, he just wants to be Robert De Niro. So I know he's a massive fan. Was he cool to work with?
Yeah, we're old friends, me, Sean, and Art Linson, the producer. Art and I are going to go to Marrakesh, and he wants to show The Untouchables. He's done Heat, We're No Angels, The Untouchables, What Just Happened. Art Linson is a wonderful producer, and we're all friends, the three of us. So he came up with the idea, let's do something, you guys, let's do a remake of We're No Angels. So I said, okay, that's how it started.
Right, it ended up terrifically. And then you move on to Goodfellas. Getting back with your old mate Joe Pesci?
Yeah. Well, when I was doing We're No Angels in Vancouver, one weekend I was reading Wise Guy, the book that Nick Pileggi had written, it was based on, and I said, this character Jimmy the Gent, I called Marty. I said, "What about him? Maybe I can play him. I can't play Henry. I'm too old." But he said, "Yeah, let's." Yeah, so that's how it started.
And Henry was played brilliantly by a young actor at the time.
Yes,
Ray Liotta.
Ray. Yes.
I suppose coming into the world of Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro must have been quite daunting for him at the time.
I guess, but
he got over it quite quick.
Yeah, he got over. You get over that stuff fast. You got to get down to work.
It kind of set him on a great path, and he's ended up with a wonderful career too. But it must have been such a joy to get masterclass day after day. And then one of my all-time favorite films with one of my all-time favorite actors, apart from yourself, was Awakenings. And Robin Williams. Did that hold any fear for you, working with somebody who I suppose came from a comedy background?
No, Robin was, he really loved acting, and he was very serious about it. And I didn't look at him as a kind of a comedian, though he was. He was unique, special in his own way, whatever you'd want to call it. So, that was good. It was good. Robin, he was terrific.
He did a great dramatic job there.
Yeah.
Was he keeping in character, maybe like yourself, throughout the thing, or did he fall into his comedic side?
No, but he took it all very, very seriously, obviously. And he and I and Dr. Oliver Sacks, when they got together, he didn't come with me. I don't think he came with me when I came here to England to go to a few places that had some patients still alive.
Yeah.
And Oliver took me to see and meet. I don't think Robin was with us, but we saw some back in New York and so on. But no, he took it very seriously.
And it must have been physically demanding to play when you're having the spasms and the speech, and keeping yourself contorted all the time. I mean, you must have to get into shape, just to be able to do that 12 hours a day.
Yeah, well, you got to try and stay in shape all the time. The older you get, especially.
No, surely not. But again, just a wonderful, wonderful film, and a side to you that we hadn't always seen that, because it was such an empathetic, sympathetic performance towards folks that have gone through the catatonic state. So that was absolutely incredible too. And then more great films. Backdraft, Cape Fear. Cape Fear was absolutely scary as shit. And again, you went for the method. You went through to extremes for the role. Tell us about that, please.
Cape Fear, yeah. I love the original, and the idea of doing a remake. Spielberg actually approached me first, and then he decided he didn't want to do it. So we were trying to get Marty to do it, and which we finally did. And it was interesting. And Marty used the original music that was used in the first Cape Fear with Robert Mitchum. He used it again, the same sound, not the exact same soundtrack, but the musical, different orchestra, but the same music, which I thought was a great idea.
It was absolutely a great idea. And you were Oscar nominated once again for another wonderful performance in Cape Fear. Yeah. And they just kept rolling on, because Casino, I know, it's just like a who's who. And then we got Heat with Al Pacino. And that was the first time that you were on screen with Al Pacino after all the years and stuff. How was that?
Well, that was my favorite scene, written scene, and my favorite scene to do, and especially to be able to do it with Al. So yeah, I mean, the movie was great. Art Linson brought me the script. I read it, and Al was either committed to it or was about to be. So it all worked out nicely. And Michael Mann, terrific, wonderful director.
Yeah. There'd been rumors around for many years that yourself and Al weren't kind of the best of friends, but everything that I've seen you together with, you've got great camaraderie, great rapport, and you seem good mates to me.
No, we're friends, and we've known each other a long time. And I mean, I wanted him to do The Irishman. He and Joe, that was the whole thing with Marty. I said we got to
get these guys together.
The four of us doing this thing together was a dream for me and us and so on.
It'll be a dream for the audiences. We will touch on that in just a little while. But then it seemed that there was quite a side shift for you, because Robert De Niro, the wonderful, intense, dramatic actor that we knew, went in to analyze this and into comedy in a great way with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
Who I believe maybe had to kind of encourage you to take the role?
No, Billy had the script, and he I don't know, he told me, man, I thought he said something like he wasn't sure whether I'd be interested, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I was interested, but let's have a reading. And I do that a lot, which actually Pacino turned me on to, let's have a reading of a script, kind of lift it off the page a little bit. Everybody sits around a table, and certain actors double and triple up on characters, and you just see how it feels, and people watch it, prospective studio people or whoever, and friends, and you get a little better sense of what it is and what the good parts, the negative part, blah blah. And so we did that, and I felt the first reading that we maybe had to get a little more real with it, because some of the people it just didn't feel. So we had another reading later with actors who were more real.
Yeah.
Those characters, they're funny in ways as it is. You don't have to play funny with them. So we did, and that's it. We did it.
And you kind of kept, because you were a mob boss within it. It kept us intrigued with the performance that but the comedic side of it just came on the back of it, and it was a massive surprise to
really,
not to yourself, I'm sure, but to ourselves. And I believe it was at the time the biggest grossing movie of your career.
Yes, it was.
Which is a brilliant thing. And Billy Crystal is one of the funniest guys around.
Yeah.
You're good friends with Billy still?
Yes, yeah, Billy's great.
Yeah. I must admit, I watched the bloopers of Analyze This, and just to see you coming out of character every now and again was a joy. But it just looked like you had a great time on there.
Yeah, we did.
And some of your previous actors were in there that you'd worked with before, kind of the heavy set guys,
yes.
And throwing people off balconies and things like that.
Who?
The big set guy.
Yeah. What's his name? Joe. Joe. I'm having a block on his last name. Joe. He passed away too. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, but it was a wonderful thing, and I suppose that kind of did you have any worries about going into comedy, or thinking it might detract you from the roles you played?
No, I thought it would be fun to do, and I was okay with it.
When I talk to my kids, and I kind of said, I'm going to meet Robert De Niro, and they went, oh, he's the guy off Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, and I'm like, well, yeah, he is, absolutely. I mean, was that a joy?
A joy?
A joy to do Meet the Fockers?
I thought, I never really started thinking about generations and that, the guy who used to say that to me, the person who used to say that to me was Jake LaMotta. How soon they forget, he used to always say to me. And I said, what's he talking about? I mean, forget what? He's always there. He'll be around for as long as he is.
Yeah.
But I realized, and then when I was doing the Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, Meet the Little Fockers, people saying, well, my kids don't know, but they know you from that. And so I said, yeah, it's. And today when I ask people, do you know who certain directors are, certain actors, they don't know who they are, who are so well known to me and my generation, Brando, Kazan, other people. They just don't They don't know.
No, but they love the work, and that's the main thing, and they're watching films. But how was it? I've been a massive fan of Barbra Streisand for as many years as I can remember. Yeah, she's a legend from a different genre of art, but she seems to fit in there. I mean, I know she'd done Funny Girl and stuff, but how was she a lovely person, or is she quite tricky?
Yeah, no, she's great. Barbara was great. She, yeah.
You've
got a lot of fun.
You've got a little smile on your face.
No, she and Dustin, they were, it was fun. We had a good time.
And a newer generation of film star in Ben Stiller is he seems he's a funny guy, but
yes, he is.
He just seems to be doing some great work as well in a different kind of way.
He's great, Ben. Very funny. He's terrific to work with. Yeah.
Which is always fantastic to know. We're getting towards the end of the filmography that we know and we love. Have we got something great to look? You mentioned just a little while ago a project that you're doing with Joe Pesci and Al Pacino.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah. It's based on a book called I Heard You Paint Houses, which was then sort of, for some reason, just to make it simpler, I guess, was starting to be called The Irishman. But it's going to be called I Heard You Paint Houses. And what that was is when my character called Jimmy Hoffa spoke to him on the phone, he said, I heard you paint houses, meaning I heard you kill people. And then I say, yeah, and I do my own carpentry work too, which means I dispose of the bodies too. So that's it's a kind of a confession of this guy who's passed away 10, 15 years ago, named Frank Sheeran from Philadelphia, who was part of the Teamsters. He was a Teamster, and it's kind of a confession, the book, written by a guy named Charles Brandt, who was a DA in Maryland, Baltimore, and area. He knew Frank, and Frank got to respect him when he was they were on opposite sides when they were going after him for one illegal reason or another. And then he hired him to defend him, Charles Brandt, who wrote the book, to work on some cases to get him out of prison on a medical thing and so on. And they got friendly. And he was a good interrogator and got confessions from people. Having done that and done it well, apparently, he had a way with Frank, who he kind of wanted to confess. It seems that he had done this. He was very religious, Catholic raised, and so that's what the story is, over these decades. And they have us. Joe plays this character named Russell Buffalino, who was an old-time mafia guy from Philadelphia, upstate New York, Pennsylvania. Hoffa was Jimmy Hoffa. Al plays Hoffa. Joe plays Buffalino. And I played this Frank Sheeran, and what was I leading up to? I was trying to.
You were leading up to telling us. Go. Okay.
Yeah, so we have decades in this thing. At least I think 4 decades of us when we're younger and so on. So we had to do these tests and stuff, and we're trying to make it like state of the art, the best that it can be done where we're younger and so on, and that's taking a bit of time. So Marty has to edit those scenes, and then we give them to the people at ILM, George Lucas's company, to work on these to make us look younger, and that's good. I'm happy about that. That'll extend my career another 30 years.
Oh, we're sure it will. Well, I think anything that's got Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, and Joe Pesci in it is something that we can't wait to see, and hopefully that'll come to us as soon as it can. We're getting towards the end of our little discussion, and we are going to take some questions from the audience, if that's okay with yourself.
Sure.
We've got a few questions out there. I do have a little list to help me. On whereabouts we all are. Our first one, if you don't mind, is table 50. It's Michael Davis. Have we got our guys out there sorting everything out? There we are, straight in the middle there, Robert.
We touched on it briefly earlier, the film Awakenings, which for me was personally a favourite performance of yours. I was just wondering, it was such an amazing and touching performance, whether it's something that's held with you, whether it's personally one of your favourite performances too, and how it was working with the late Robin Williams.
Well, yeah, I mean, I worked hard on that, and Robin, as I was saying, was great. You know, he was a terrific person. I don't, you know, I'm very sad about what happened to him. I was expecting to be seeing him, you know, now at times and so on. So but he was terrific, and Penny Marshall did a wonderful job, and I had a guy who helped me who had Parkinson's disease, because it's similar to Parkinson's. It's a kind of Parkinson's disease, and I'd videotape him a lot and watch him, and he was one of those kind of people who understood what you're looking for, so he would explain to me what he's doing and why he's freezing and what's happening and this and that and so on. So it was a great help, and I liked him a lot. He's a terrific person to work with. And
it must be incredible to get firsthand for such a deep, sensitive role to get it explained kind of in colour and pictures, and that must be wonderful. But it shone through in your performance, the research, and you just nailed the character completely. It was so beautiful. So thank you for that question. Our second question is from table 93, and Radomir.
Good evening, Mr. De Niro. I would like to ask you, can you still speak fluent Italian like the young Vito Corleone from The Godfather? And if you can you speak a bit?
Well, it's been, I only learned it for the movie. I speak Italian enough. For an American, I speak decent Italian. I can get around in restaurants and stuff like that. So, come stai? That's Italian. That's not Sicilian. Sabanariga means God bless you in Sicilian. What else? I don't know.
Just so long as you can order a beer.
Huh?
Just so long as you can order a beer.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main thing.
But I've forgotten a bit of it, I gotta admit. I didn't follow through and keep Italian, yes, but not Sicilian. So Sicilian is mixed with some Italian certain words, but...
I suppose you'd have had to kind of learn phonetically sometimes.
Yes, I did. I learned some of it phonetically, absolutely, yeah.
Are you speaking Italian to us, Radomir? No. Fair enough. We'll move on then to Adam Davis, who's on table 73. He's got a great question for you.
Mr. De Niro, firstly, you're an absolute legend, and it's got to be said right now. My question for you is, please tell us your memories of working on Goodfellas and Casino, and your initial thoughts on the Casino script, as it's somewhat similar to Goodfellas. Thank you.
My thoughts about it?
Yeah, the thoughts, he kind of feels that Casino and Goodfellas were a very similar script. How did you feel about it at the beginning, kind of reading one after the other?
Yeah, they are. They're written by Nick Pileggi. They're similar worlds, yes. What can I say? They're similar worlds. Well, they're
similar worlds,
different characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Ace Rothstein is one kind of character, and Jimmy the Gent is another character. Two different, a Stone Cold Killer, and kind of like a Whitey Bulger, I guess. I guess you're aware of him now because he was just. They were writing about him.
Yeah, there's many stories to be told within a similar genre, but
yes.
The characters are completely removed, and the stories, even if they have a similar connotation, they're a different story.
Yes,
that's the key, and both unbelievably brilliant films. So we're happy you made them both.
Yeah.
We've got table 119 and Dominic Wilde to our left.
Hi, Mr. De Niro. Great to hear about your career. In the bank robbery scene in Heat, one of the greatest action sequences in movie history, how much training did you and the other actors have to go through to create such a realistic and powerful scene?
We did a lot of training for that, actually, with actually some guys from the UK who were great. SAS, and they were terrific. And that's, did a lot.
It was an intense kind of action, as you're saying, one of the great roles. But as you've touched on earlier, you've kind of, to be in the business, and you've got to keep yourself fit, you've got to keep yourself agile,
yeah,
and keep yourself ready. It's no good kind of putting on 20 pounds and getting a role in a couple of weeks and going, oh shit, what we're going to do now?
Exactly.
So one more. We've got another couple of questions. Nicola Baxter, who's on table 95. I think I've missed one, but sorry, Chris Niblett on table 94. I was close, but no banana.
I thought you'd forgotten about me then.
Not at all.
First of all, Robert, what a pleasure to be here asking you a question. Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seriously, amazing. So, there's a rumour going round. Apparently, you might be here for filming something, Peaky Blinders. Yeah?
What's that?
Apparently.
What's Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders is a TV show over here that's it's kind of pretty. It's a pretty cool set in the 20s, all the flat caps and.
Oh no! I'm not. I'm
So
working
that
on a
wasn't my
commercial,
question.
but I'm not doing that.
What my question was,
Yeah.
was if you have seen it, who's your favourite character and why?
I haven't
Yes,
seen
you
it.
have.
No, I haven't.
He didn't know what it was, so I'm sure he's not seen it. But
It's a British show?
It's a British TV series, but it's very stylized. So all the guys are really cool, and the title is called Peaky Blinders, and the reason it's called Peaky Blinders, and it's set in Birmingham.
Oh, okay.
Is because they all kind of wear the flat caps, but inside they have razors.
Oh, yeah. Who's in that?
Cillian
Tom Hardy?
Murphy. Tom Hardy is in it.
Yes,
Yeah?
I heard about it. I heard it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's,
And you're shooting it here? Or?
It's set
here.
within the Birmingham area, yeah. So it's made a great impact over here, and if somebody like yourself would be absolutely perfect to go in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So if we could talk you into it,
I heard it was good.
It's real great. Well, even for somebody like Tom Hardy, to jump back into a TV series,
Sure. No,
kind of means a lot. But
yeah. He's great. He's great.
So he's not here filming Peaky Blinders, unfortunately, because I would love to see that too. But we're just glad you're here. Irrelevant of. Sorry, Nicola Baxter definitely this time on table 95. Hello.
Hi, Robert. I'm your second fan. Excuse the accent. I am actually from Birmingham. My partner is your first fan. We were wondering whether what your 3 favourite roles were and why.
Well, people always ask me what's my favorite, this and that. I mean, Raging Bull, Cape Fear. I had fun doing Midnight Run. I mean, there are different reasons, and sometimes if people they're received so well, I like it more. I'm happy that it was received. All that work wasn't in vain. So I look at it that way too.
I suppose it's like asking which is your favourite child.
Exactly.
Not quite so easy when you've invested so much in it, but a great question. Next question from Billy Lal on table 21. To our right.
Yeah. Mr. De Niro, out of all the new and upcoming actors right now, who would you most want to work and with who would you most want to work with and why?
Well, I think I'm working with Leonardo DiCaprio with Scorsese in a movie. Tom Hardy's a great actor.
Bradley Cooper. I think you've worked with Bradley Cooper.
Bradley did a great job in A Star Is Born. I don't know if it came here yet.
Yes, yeah, it's a wonderful
He was
film.
great in it. He did a great job directing. I'm having a blank, but there's certain other actors.
There's so many great actors around.
Great.
And Tom Hardy is, if you know, one of our foremost actors
great.
at the moment. But you're working with Stephen Graham.
Stephen Graham was wonderful.
He was a great actor from Liverpool.
Paint Houses or The Irishman. Yeah, he was great.
So at least we've got some British in there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We've got some great actors over here, that's for sure. Alex Lee on table 18.
Hi, Robert. I just wanted to ask, you've filmed all over the world in so many different locations, but where is your treasure cove that you'd like to go back to after you've finished filming?
I like warm weather. Probably the Caribbean somewhere. Maybe.
Not so much New York at the moment.
Well,
then.
New York, I'm in New York. Yeah, of course. But
because you have
to retire?
No, just to kind of kick back.
Yeah, no, in the Caribbean. I like the Caribbean. I like to go down there. Yeah,
it's quite nice out in the Caribbean
because it's closer to New York, and I love the Caribbean.
And you've got businesses around the world.
Yes.
And you've got the great Nobu restaurants.
Yes.
Which are beautiful. Have you got about 20 Nobu?
We've got about 40 Nobu restaurants, and about we've got 10 to 15 hotels, and I'm trying to open a resort on an island called Barbuda, which is part of Antigua, which is British protectorate.
British owned, yeah, it's one of the British Virgin Islands.
So,
what I actually love that you're doing at the minute, irrelevant to the wonderful businesses that you've got, you put so much back into the business that's given you so much, because you've got a great production company called Tribeca, which is the area you're from.
Yes, well, I live down in Tribeca. Tribeca is below the village. It's just a block or two or three north of the World Trade Center. And when the 9/11 happened, we started the Tribeca Film Festival in Lower Manhattan. So that was the reason.
And it encourages, because you're producing some great stuff out of Tribeca, and giving young actors a great chance and an insight, and bringing some wonderful people to the festival to give talks and.
Oh yeah. It's done very, very well. It's been well received, and I always felt that. Yeah, thank you. That it would be part of the fabric of New York, the tradition forever, the festival.
It's a wonderful city well, aesthetically, it's a wonderful city to film. And it's great that somebody like yourself from that area is trying to put so much back in and give so much back to a business that's given you so much. You've given us an absolutely wonderful evening tonight here in Birmingham.
Thank you.
We can't thank you enough for coming and giving us a small insight into your life, your career, and the wonderful, wonderful work that you've done. And I'm sure there's not one person in this room that doesn't absolutely adore everything that you've done and that you will do in the future. We thank you so much for that. Please give it up for the wonderful Mr. Robert De Niro.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you. You've all been great. Thank you. Great.
Once again, please, the wonderful legend that is Mr. Robert De Niro.